Archangel Michael says, I order you to open this right now. This is not a joke. This is about the money. 2 people from your family are taking all the. My dear child, Archangel Michael has a message for you today, so please don't skip this video. There comes a time when heaven no longer allows what's hidden to remain in the dark. Not because it wants to harm you, but because it wants to finally heal you. You've been sensing something lately. A stirring. A quiet discomfort when your spirit thinks about money, about trust, about family. You've smiled through it. You've prayed about it. You've tried to ignore it. But today, heaven says, no more ignoring. No more covering. No more delay. The time for clarity has come. Archangel Michael says, I do not come to scare you. I do not speak with anger. I come now with divine urgency, not to strike, but to reveal. Because something sacred has been taken, not just from your hands, but from your future. Something that was meant to be a blessing for you was quietly redirected. And the reason your heart has been restless, the reason your peace feels uneven, is because your spirit knows the truth is being covered in silence. But I will not allow you to keep walking in that shadow. God says, this is not about revenge. This is not about hatred. This is about restoration. I have watched the ones you call family operate with divided hearts. I have seen the moments where money was mishandled. Where decisions were made behind closed doors. Where blessings meant for your life were filtered through wrong intentions. I did not stop it then, not because I was unaware, but because I was preparing this exact moment for you to receive the truth with strength, not shock. Michael continues, there are 2 people who carry your blood but not your burden. They smiled. They called you family. But when it came to what was fair, what was right, they chose silence. They chose secrecy. And while you were praying for breakthrough, they were praying you never found out. But your prayers reached heaven. And heaven always answers. You've been wondering why certain opportunities feel delayed. Why doors seem half open. Why your peace doesn't match your giving heart. It's not because you're cursed. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because a portion of your blessing has been withheld, spiritually and practically, by those who should have covered you. And now, God says, I reveal it not to break you, but to lift what has been blocking the full flow of favor. Michael says, I was there when they made the decision. I stood in the room when they justified it. I watched when they laughed like it would never come to light. But I have kept a record. I have preserved your name. I have protected your portion. And now, heaven is about to restore everything, because you dared to believe in truth when all you had was suspicion. This is not a warning. This is a whisper of deliverance. A divine letter sent to your heart. You are not imagining the shift in energy. You are not wrong for sensing betrayal in places that should have been safe. That is your anointing working. That is discernment rising. That is heaven affirming what you feel. God says, I am not just your God in pain, I am your God in justice. And I will not let what belongs to you be buried beneath the comfort of those who feared exposure. I am shining my light into the room now. And soon, a conversation will happen. A name will be mentioned. A slip of truth will fall out. When it does, don't panic. That's your confirmation. That's me saying, I heard you. I protected what they tried to keep from you. Michael says, you were not overlooked. You were not forgotten. You were not weak for trusting. You were faithful. And even when they hid the truth, you still walked in love. That is why I now walk with you into the restoration season. The truth is no longer your enemy. It is your entrance into peace. There is a moment coming where clarity will meet you face to face. You won't have to search. You won't have to fight. Heaven will bring it to your doorstep. And when it does, walk in grace, not rage. God is not revealing this to stir chaos. He is revealing this to close the chapter, to open a new one with full provision, full peace, and full spiritual alignment. Michael says, I am removing the grief of what you didn't know. I am undoing the soul knots you tied just to keep others comfortable. And I am bringing forth the blessing they thought could be buried. No more delay. No more spiritual theft. No more silence. God says, your money is not lost. Your name is not stolen. Your inheritance, spiritual and earthly, will be returned. And what they kept for themselves will become a testimony of what happens when I defend my own. You don't have to beg. You don't have to chase. You just have to believe. Stand still. Watch me bring justice with grace. Michael says, I order this message into your spirit now, not to scare you, but to set you free. What was taken will be returned. What was covered will be revealed. And what was yours all along, peace, clarity, provision, will be restored. There is a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't leave scars on the skin. It lives in the places no one sees, in quiet glances, in strained laughter, in that ache you feel when the ones who should protect you begin to pull away when it matters most. You've carried that pain silently. You didn't want to accuse. You didn't want to stir division. You gave grace where others gave excuses. And yet, something in your spirit knew. Something wasn't right. Something was happening around you, not because of you, but directly connected to what rightfully belonged to you. And now, heaven has had enough of silence. Archangel Michael speaks again, not with thunder, but with tears. Not to frighten, but to open your eyes fully. He stands where no one else has. He has heard what was said when your name left the room. He has watched the way two familiar hands gathered what wasn't theirs, smiled with kindness, and locked the truth behind closed lips. But he never stopped watching. And now, he cannot stay quiet. Not because your future is at risk, but because your peace deserves to return. Michael says, you've trusted beyond the breaking point. You've forgiven without the apology. You've loved through deception you didn't have the evidence to prove, but your soul carried the weight of what they denied. That is not your weakness. That is your strength. You chose the high road. And now, heaven honors that. God says, I have allowed time to pass. I have allowed you to heal slowly. I have allowed your spirit to remain soft, not because I condone what they did, but because I am preparing the restoration to come from my hand, not theirs. I will reveal it. I will return it. But I needed you to be ready, not to fight, but to rise. There are two people. Not strangers. Not outsiders. But family. People whose names carry memories, whose smiles used to feel safe. But somewhere along the way, they shifted. The lines between love and ownership became blurred. What was meant to be shared became quietly kept. What was meant to be honored was strategically divided. And they thought, you would never know. They thought time would wash it away. But time has only made heaven's justice stronger. Michael says, they operated from scarcity, not knowing that your heart would have given them everything if they'd only asked. But instead of honesty, they chose control. Instead of integrity, they chose convenience. Instead of family, they chose silence. And now, I step forward, not with vengeance, but with truth. You've wondered why your blessings seem delayed. Why your finances feel stuck. Why the weight of provision feels heavier on your shoulders than it should. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because something that belongs to you, something spiritual, something physical, has been held in hands that never admitted they were holding it. And now, heaven is prying it loose. God says, this is not about money alone. This is about honor. This is about justice. This is about peace. I will not let your name carry the weight of quiet theft. I will not let you keep praying for breakthrough while someone else is sitting on the very door I told them to open. They didn't release it, but I will. Michael says, I stood between you and the consequences they deserved. I blocked the bitterness that tried to root in your heart. I whispered comfort when you couldn't make sense of the tension you felt in family conversations. You knew something shifted. But you didn't know why. And now, I tell you why, because they were hiding something. And heaven is no longer letting it stay hidden. This isn't about confrontation. It's about confirmation. This isn't about burning bridges. It's about rebuilding boundaries. And when the truth comes, and it will come, your job is not to explain it away. Your job is to walk in peace. What they withheld from you was never larger than what God will restore to you. What they managed in secret, God is about to multiply in public. God says, prepare your heart. Not for war, but for clarity. I will show you the document, the voice message, the confession, the divine alignment that will bring the truth gently but completely. Don't be shocked. You've already known. You just needed heaven to make it visible. And now I will. Michael says, let go of the pressure to hold everything together. You don't need to cover for anyone anymore. You don't need to protect what is already being exposed. You don't need to smile through the ache of betrayal. I am here. Heaven is here. God's hand is on this moment. And what was tangled will now be straightened. You are not losing family. You are gaining clarity. You are not stepping into conflict. You are stepping into truth. The next season of your life demands freedom from manipulation, freedom from emotional obligation, freedom from financial control wrapped in family ties. Heaven is rewriting the terms. You are no longer obligated to carry what isn't yours. God says, I saw every conversation, every decision, every detail they thought you would never understand. And now, I'm revealing it. Not to shame them, but to release you. Because what you've been asking me for, the next level of purpose, the open doors, the true financial overflow, requires that no one else holds your keys in secret. And now, I give them back to you. Michael says, your hands will lack nothing. Your name will carry no stain. Your blessings will no longer be held behind closed doors. I am breaking the spiritual agreement they made without your permission. I am silencing the voices that said, they don't need to know. I am releasing what was locked. And I am lifting you where no hand can pull you down again. This is your justice. Quiet. Beautiful. God ordained. You don't have to fight for it. Just receive it. You don't have to earn it. You already endured enough. You don't have to chase it. Heaven already delivered it. The truth is no longer hiding. And peace is now returning to your house. There is a sound in heaven that only grace can make. It is the sound of restoration beginning. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. But it is powerful. And today, that sound carries your name. For too long, you've lived beneath what was promised. For too long, your heart has accepted the version of peace that required you to stay silent. But God says, that season is over. You are no longer the one who loves at the cost of your clarity. You are no longer the one who keeps quiet so others stay comfortable. You are no longer the one carrying the weight of what someone else decided to hide. This is the part where heaven intervenes not just to reveal, but to restore. Archangel Michael speaks with calm authority now. The tone of a guardian who's no longer pleading, he's acting. He's no longer trying to make you see, he's shifting things for you. He stands in the space where your heart was torn between love and truth, and he begins lifting what was placed on your shoulders unfairly. He says, "You gave them love. They gave you silence. You gave them your prayers. They gave you partial truths. You gave them grace. They gave you delay. But what they couldn't take was your destiny. And now, that destiny begins to bloom without apology. God says, I am returning what was taken. But not the same way. I am not just giving you the money. I am giving you discernment. I am not just giving you clarity. I am giving you confidence. I am not just giving you peace. I am giving you authority. Because the lesson was never about what they took. It was about who you were becoming through it. You have always been generous. Not just with resources, but with your time, your spirit, your loyalty. You were the one who stayed after the damage. You were the one who gave even when confused. You kept the family together. You defended people who never defended you. And now, heaven is defending you. You may not have the evidence in your hands, but you had the integrity in your heart. And heaven honors that more than anything. Michael says, I will now begin to remove the residue of betrayal from your life. The confusion. The financial weight. The heaviness in your chest that lingered long after conversations. The spiritual fog that made you doubt yourself. I lift it all now. Because the moment you embraced the truth, was the moment I was released to bring the restoration. There is a peace coming that you have never felt before. Not because life will suddenly be perfect, but because the lie that lived underneath everything has been evicted. You will no longer smile while your soul screams. You will no longer play small so that they feel large. You will no longer overgive to compensate for what they took. You are done adjusting your value to match someone else's decisions. God says, I am raising your standard. Not to make you proud, but to bring you into alignment with your real inheritance. You are royalty. You are light. You are anointed. You are the one I've chosen to carry the blessing that was never meant to be shared out of fear. I've placed a new key in your hand. Not just to unlock doors, but to lock out anything that no longer serves your peace. Michael says, expect movement. Expect quiet exits. Expect divine reversal. What was hidden will now serve as the stage for your elevation. Not to embarrass them, but to announce you. You have been hidden long enough. And now the veil is lifting, not only from their actions but from your identity. You were never the victim. You were the vessel. You were never broken. You were being rebuilt. You were never left behind. You were being set apart. And now, heaven surrounds you with new strength, new direction, and new discernment. From this moment forward, you will never again question whether you're worthy of what was always yours. The finances, the favor, the legacy, the peace, the protection. It all returns, but this time with interest. God says, "What they tried to divide, I will multiply. What they tried to delay, I will accelerate. What they tried to hide, I will expose with peace. You will not lift a finger in anger. You will not speak with bitterness. Your silence will no longer be a cage, it will be a crown. Because I will speak for you." Michael says, "Every word spoken against you is now silenced in heaven's court. Every decision made behind your back is now being reversed in front of my throne. Every coin that was miscounted is being restored through hands they cannot stop. You will wake up and feel the shift. The atmosphere in your home will change. The weight on your chest will lift. And what they thought you would never find out, will now become your testimony. And the most beautiful part? You won't have to fight for any of it. This is not a battle. This is a blessing. This is not revenge. This is restoration. This is not exposure to shame. This is exposure to set you free. The God who sees in secret is rewarding you openly. The angel who has watched in silence is now moving with power. And the tears you cried into your pillow are now being poured out as oil on your future. God says, "You are my child. You are not forgotten. You are not left behind. You are not defeated. You are covered. You are rising. You are becoming. And everything that was held, hidden, or withheld, is now being released." Michael says, "This is your return. This is your moment. This is your shift. And no one, no lie, no name, no hidden document, no secret decision, can block what God has ordained for your life. Walk boldly now. You are no longer in the dark. You are standing in the light. There is a moment in every soul's journey where the burden lifts, and though nothing has changed around you, everything begins to shift inside of you. The room looks the same. The faces might still smile the same. But your spirit knows, something has been released. You're not carrying it anymore. Not the confusion. Not the silent question, "Why does this still hurt?" Not the guilt of trusting too long. Not the pressure to stay silent so others stay comfortable. The weight that was placed on your back through unspoken betrayal, financial manipulation, and quiet division, heaven has lifted it now. And in that stillness, God says, "Now breathe, my child. Now rest. Now rebuild." Archangel Michael stands beside you, not with fire this time, but with a hand extended. He says, "You've walked through a valley not even your closest friends could understand. You smiled while bleeding spiritually. You gave while feeling forgotten. You forgave without hearing the truth. But I was with you. I kept record. And now the accounts are being settled, not by your voice, but by heaven's hand. You did not imagine it. That heavy pause after family discussions. That invisible wall during family meetings about inheritance, about money, about what should have been shared fairly. You noticed how things shifted when blessings were mentioned. You noticed the tension when fairness was brought up. But you told yourself it was nothing. You pushed it down. You said, "I just want peace." And now, God responds, "So do I." But peace cannot live where secrets hide. Michael says, "This is not about blame anymore. This is about clarity. This is about setting the atmosphere of your life in order. The truth has already been revealed in spirit. And now, it is being untangled on earth." God says, "The blessing that was blocked is returning. The favor that was delayed is flowing. The inheritance that was spiritually intercepted by selfishness is being rerouted. You will no longer be held hostage by what someone else tried to lock behind a family name. You may not hear an apology. You may never be told the full story. But you don't need their confession for me to begin your compensation. I am not waiting on them to return what they owe. I am creating new rivers that bypass their silence. You will be blessed not because they made it right, but because I am always right. And I see you. I've always seen you." Michael says, "Your hands will lack nothing. Your bank will not remain empty. Your life will not be defined by what they tried to suppress. Because even when they had access to the resources, you had access to the throne of heaven. And heaven is always greater. This restoration is different. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's personal. It comes through unexpected sources. It comes through peace you didn't think you could feel again. It comes through opportunities that seem too divine to be random. And that's because they aren't. This is God's doing. And no one will be able to explain it away. God says, "You are stepping into a season where the answers will no longer be external. They will live within you. That knowing you tried to suppress. That spiritual instinct you were taught to ignore. I'm restoring it now. You will no longer confuse loyalty with spiritual suffocation. You will no longer be loyal to what drains you.